All right, guys, it's time. Hey, what's going on?
It's time. Zach, you know, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Am I getting a call? I'm getting a call. Should I take this call? We're
Take it.
starting an episode.
Take it.
Do you
All
think I
right.
should take it?
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Mr. Dollar, I'm going to your door.
Oh, perfect.
Just be right here or wait for you.
Yeah, you just leave it on the banister. That's fine.
Sweet, thank you.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye. You know.
My pizza's here. I'll just have just a quick text and have my housemate Mike.
What element do you think would enjoy pizza the most?
What element would enjoy pizza the most? Get ready. Zach is pulling up now.
It's me.
It's you. You delivered it. I don't know how. I don't know how. Yeah, it was you. You projected through your mind, the mind's eye.
You answer the phone and it's my voice. Like
that would be. I would freak out probably. Anyway.
Hey.
Um. So. I don't remember what I was gonna say. I was like, so what do you feel about the Avatar live action? You know, we got Earth,
I mean,
we got air, we got fire and water.
Avatar.
Now,
I mean,
what if
it's okay? I don't know.
what if all those elements were given form? You know,
I
what
heard you.
if they came to life?
I hear you. I'm listening.
Yeah. Well, that's this movie.
Oh, okay.
It
It sounds very elemental.
is very elemental.
You know.
Yeah, like the name of the movie.
It's real talk of the town. This movie, haven't you heard?
Is it? Unfortunately, I don't think it is the talk of the town. It's because it's not. I don't think it's going to make money.
I know, but I see all these big thumbnails, big titles like, "Ooh, let's talk about the Pixar problem," right? You know, big catchy
Yeah.
thumbnails.
Yeah.
The
Ooh.
character like, why
Yeah.
did it bomb so hard? You know,
Yeah, and stuff like that.
So, is there any substance to these claims? What do you think? Is there a Pixar problem in the air?
I don't know if it's necessarily. It's sort of hard to say. So, because like the last few movies, the last few Pixar movies have not. Well, most of them haven't even launched on anywhere. They didn't launch on. They didn't come to the theaters. They
They went
just
straight
straight
to
to Disney
VHS.
Plus, straight to VHS, and I honestly think that's that's partially a factor. I don't think that's the only factor at play, but I think there's an element of, well, I'll just wait till it's streaming because I don't know if I want to bring my kids out to see this movie because blah 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 blah. So I think there's an element of that that's true. Elemental. I think there's a part of that that's true, but I think there's a lot of different factors. I think I wanted to go see because I've written this down to a few people. But I think one of the things, well, that's one of the problems, I think. But I think another problem with this movie is the marketing was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really get a semblance of what this movie was really about from the marketing. I got that it was sort of a love story, but like
Elements.
I didn't,
Yeah,
but I didn't really get like anything else. I got like, okay, there's like a world where in which this all works, but like it's like they couldn't really convey to a whole lot of anything. I knew there was going to be some conflict between the flame girl and her parents, and as it turns out, that's actually more of the drama of the story than the romance.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I prefer that. I actually may have preferred that they go maybe a little bit more traditional with the romance. As I feel like we're entering this new phase of where every movie now has to pull a Frozen. We have to subvert the expectation, and it's like, I think there's an element of that. Again, I think there's a part of that that's fine, that's good. There's a place for that, but like when every single movie is trying to do that, it's like you are severely you're having less and less broad appeal. Say what you will about, and I think we even brought up like in the Turning Red, which I thought was, some of the critiques of that film was the fact that it was like, oh well, it's way too limiting because like I can't watch and enjoy a movie that's about like a Canadian Asian girl
Right, because we don't
with like
we don't watch
all this
movies
stuff.
to hear stories about anything other than what we can exactly relate to.
Right.
Exactly.
I disagree with that
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. But I will agree with the angle that because you've narrowed your focus, you are necessarily narrowing the audience somewhat. Not to say that that's a critique of a movie, but it's just I feel like you need to have your expectations tapered as well if you're going to limit the audience that's the movie's marketed to. As a little boy, I don't necessarily want to go see a movie about a Canadian Asian girl and her panda powers and her girlfriends. Like that's not really something that I like. As a little boy, you might not be interested in that. Um, Similarly, for like Luca itself, that was aimed to little boys more than I would say more than girls. It was
Me
it's a
as a
friendship story about.
a grown man, I didn't want to watch that movie.
And even as a grown man, Zach really didn't like it. I loved that movie, but I know he did not much care for it. I thought it was okay.
Mhm.
I think the limiting of focus is definitely something that could potentially be, or the limiting of your audience, or it could be a limiting factor. And I also think that like just generally speaking, like there's this film hard to market. I think maybe even just like it's unusual character designs, and it's just like nothing about it like necessarily hopped off the page being like, wow, this is immediately appealing. It looked unique, but sometimes that's a hard sell. Also, other things to consider: the box office landscape right now. We're currently at a time where even if you're a franchise film, that's not a guarantee of success. Ant-Man the Wasp and Quantumania did okay at the box office. It didn't do smash amazing numbers. Guardians 3 did pretty well. The Super Mario Brothers movie destroyed, made like over $1 billion. I think it's like Illumination's highest grossing film ever, which is crazy
Right.
to say. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is out in theaters currently, and it's still making a lot of money. It's a franchise film. It's a big tentpole release of the summer. I went and saw it like a few days before I went and saw Elemental. I'm probably going to go see it again. I honestly that probably might not see Elemental again, despite the fact that I actually kind of enjoyed the movie quite a bit. But when you have these big franchise releases, these big huge IPs, not even necessarily guaranteeing success anymore, but they're the ones that are still the ones that are more likely to make money. So then you're taking a risk on something that no one knows anything about. It's a hard sell. It's a limited audience. You take all these factors together that's waiting for streaming rather than spending $60 to go see it with your family. It's a hard sell. And I think that COVID is still kind of affecting people and their purchasing decisions so much. We're also going through a time of a lot of inflation. You know, people are maybe a little bit more picky and choosy about the movies that they're going to go see. They're not going to go see a movie every week. They might see Spider-Man because their kids want to go see Spider-Man. They don't necessarily want to see this weirdo looking movie about fire and water people, you know?
Mhm.
So I think it's not so much a Pixar problem as it is a general movie theater problem currently. Like it's a cinema problem, and I don't know what the solution is. Because I almost think streaming services are like kind of putting the studios themselves in a bind. Like they're pushing their own streaming services, but then they're losing money on them, and then they're losing money at the box office because of them. It seems to be there might be a problem brewing there, and I don't necessarily know how you fix that. But anyway, those are all things that I've thought about around this movie, because it's almost more interesting to think about this than it is to actually talk about the movie itself. What did you actually think about the movie? I said that I did actually quite enjoy it, but
No,
I didn't love it.
I enjoyed
but
it. I didn't love it. But to
Yeah.
be fair, when I saw the teaser a while ago, I was like already sold. I was like, oh, I just like visually. I'm like, okay, this seems cool. I don't need much
Yeah, the teaser.
sometimes. Sometimes I don't even
The,
need to know what the movie's about. I just see what it looks like. All right, it's Disney, Pixar.
I'm actually in the same boat as you. The teaser sold me. I saw the trailer, like the later trailer that came out, like happenstance. I don't even remember what I saw it with. I think maybe it was attached to another movie I went and saw. I don't even remember. And I didn't like the trailer. I really didn't like it. I was like, I don't know if I now I know don't know if I'm really all that excited about this now. Like, whereas the other one was like, oh, this could be kind of neat, like a little like love story between like a fire and water. That's kind of interesting. But I don't know if it appealing to me. I have very strange and specific tastes when it comes to certain things. So it's like just because it's appealing to me, I don't know how much mass appeal. Talking to my mom was like, yeah, I'm not really interested in that, and talking to my housemates, and neither of them were overly excited about it. And
Right. I mean, and it's less kid oriented too, right? Like, it's not really a kid story. Like, it's more of like a teenager, young adult love story kind of thing. It might not appeal so much to the young kids that Disney and Pixar usually are known to get. Now, without looking too far into it, I mean, when I heard about the headlines and stuff, some things that people saying also is that the fact that it's almost like Pixar stories are becoming a little rote. They're very like similar in how in the stories and plots themselves. It's like a lot of generational trauma or family issues. It's a lot of the same kind of story.
I think that's a factor too. And it's funny because they didn't really play that up from what I remember in the advertising. There was, I guess, a little bit of conflict with that from the trailer, I remember. But yeah, like that's what like all of them are about, right? That is kind of like what they're all sort of about. And I think this one, it was like it's nice to see that sort of the idea, those sort of things like represented. But it's like when every single movie is the same thing, it does start to get a little tired.
I mean,
whereas like
yeah,
Monsters Inc., the struggle of Monsters Inc. is completely different from the struggle of A Bug's Life, which is completely different than the struggles of Toy Story, right? Those are all completely different tones of those movies. Whereas like Luca and Turning Red are kind of variations of the same theme to a degree. You know, they come at it from different angles, but like they're both about the relationship with your parents. And the kind of wanting to strike out on your own, rebel from your parents. Both of them have that exact theme. One comes at it from a specific context, the early 2000s in Canada, and the other one comes at a more general sort of concept, an undeterminate amount of time, like an undeterminate period of time in Italy. Feels like it might be the 60s, but it doesn't really matter what time it is, but it's very much like. So yeah, I think that definitely, I would agree with that actually.
Yeah, we're kind of missing like the big iconic Pixar. Like they're kind of all kind of blending together a little bit, where it's like, okay, there've been some pretty good ones out recently, but then it's like, oh, I love Toy Story, I love Monsters Inc. Like these are the ones that stand out, and there's not as much of the more recent ones.
Right. I like So I actually saw Toy Story. I actually saw Toy Story 4 again a couple nights ago, and I loved it. Again,
biggest Toy Story 4 fan I know.
I honestly, watching it again, because I had actually started to sour on it a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I started to kind of like, it's not, it wasn't quite up to snuff of the other three, and it's not. Like straight up, it's not as good as the other three. But I still found myself really enjoying it again. Like it's just there's some little special magic they have with those characters, and it's like a little bit faltering in that one. I honestly hate the fact that we're getting that apparently they're teasing more. I don't want more. We do not want more. We don't need more. 4 was kind of fine. Like it was almost too much. But like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. So maybe if Toy Story 5 is like a super prequel, maybe it's like Woody and Andy's dad, like that kind of thing. So we go back to like the 50s.
I hope there are no toys in it. It's all about the humans.
It's just all about humans. Yeah. It's just about Andy. They just call it Andy. That's it. Just one word.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see that.
Um,
So this movie I did enjoy actually.
yeah,
I don't think, it kind of bothers me when it's like, I always try to stay away from the reception after, definitely
yeah,
before and after. Even before our review, I tried to as much as I can. This one, I didn't see the reception before watching it, so it was kind of fresh. And then I
hmm
go online, and it's like, you get those freaking thumbnails, where it's like, oh my god, this is what's wrong. Why the Elemental is a total failure, and like
yeah.
such
And I wouldn't
dramatic
say it's a
stuff like that.
I wouldn't say it's a complete failure yet. It
Yeah.
hasn't launched in China, and I do know China has not actually been a huge money earner for Disney as of late. I think what was the one that A Little Mermaid like tanked super hard in
Right.
China. Um,
Right, and that's
I,
because they were racist, so they're definitely not gonna like this movie.
yeah, yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah,
So,
there's actually
so
that's
this,
actually some of the stuff that I liked about this
so
movie
this, yeah,
is
this
that it,
resonated with me. It's like
yeah,
interracial relationship at its
yeah,
core, and I like the stuff. I liked a lot of that stuff.
yeah. I
Um,
thought that I thought that stuff worked really well. I personally, I feel like I'll iterate this again. I feel like there was too much. There was not enough spent on our core relationship or the two love interests, Ember and
I
what's
agree.
his name again?
Wayne,
Ember and
Wayne,
what? Wayne.
is that it?
Slay. It's something. It seemed like it was a water pun too, wasn't it? Wade. Wade.
Wade in the water. Okay.
Yeah. Wade and I feel like there wasn't enough time spent on that. Like there was because every time they were together, it was like it was awesome. It was like I loved it. I
Yeah.
thought, but I felt like it was just like it kind of was like jumping to certain beats of the relationship rather than like necessarily feeling the most natural.
Right. Exactly. It was not. It didn't feel super
Yeah,
organic. It's kind of like, just trust us.
yeah,
There's like sparks flying here. This is okay. They're in
yeah.
love now.
That's kind of what it felt like to me, and it's like I didn't like that. It was towards the end of the movie where I started to buy them sort of as a couple
Yeah.
a lot more, and like even the scene towards it. So spoilers, just for anyone from here on out, there'll be spoilers.
Yeah.
Um, to the scene where like he even said like "I love you" to her, like felt like I actually was like felt like yeah, all right, like fight for her, like that kind of thing. Like it did that stuff kind of worked.
Hmm.
On kind of from where I was coming from, and it was just yeah, I liked that stuff. But
Here's the thing: the crux of the movie. I was thinking as I was watching this movie, wow, this is actually a different take than most because this girl is fine being in the family business. Like
yeah,
she doesn't want nothing to do with it.
yeah,
The twist of the film is that, in fact, she doesn't want anything to do with it. So the
right,
twist actually brings it back more into the cliche, which I found ironic.
yeah, yeah,
Because I was like, oh, this usually it's all about, and I mean, reasonably
yeah,
so. It's an interesting story to see someone like, they're
right,
stuck in the family business and you want to do your own thing.
right. But
But
then you,
it's like, oh, she's into it actually. She's looking forward to running it, and then that's the subversion of our expectations. Is actually
yeah,
no, her temper apparently was her hinting at herself that she doesn't want to do it.
yeah.
So I don't know how I
That
felt
this is
about that exactly, as the twist or of the plot. I'm not sure.
yeah. I liked that. I liked that. I think. I almost wish that it had been brought up like a lot earlier, and it wasn't maybe like a twist so much as like I don't know that to me that felt like because that was like the beginning of the third act kind of thing that sort of came up. It's like as you say, it was sort of a twist. I almost felt like it would have worked better if that was maybe the end of the first act and that she'd like done all these things to sort of ruin relationship with customers and she's like, why am I so angry? And then like figured it out by talking to Wade. We had maybe a little bit, maybe another couple of scenes with him and her trying to like and
Yeah.
figuring that out. And then the rest of the movie being like, how am I going to tell my dad that I don't want this? And so that there's like awkward, maybe some failed attempts to like tell him, and
Yeah, I can
and then
see that.
beginning of the third act is more like then he's like, oh, I'm gonna leave it to you, and here's this sign. Like, I'm retiring, and this is yours now. And so, like, then the pressure builds up because it keeps failing, and then boom, highest amount of pressure on her character. Like, I almost felt like that maybe could have worked a little bit better than sort of how it played out in the movie. But
that would have been better for sure. I think there's something else there they could have done too. Perhaps, like, maybe if it really was early on, she realized she doesn't want to do the business. Maybe she finds someone who is passionate about that kind of thing, and she kind of like raises this person as like the protege, you know.
Claude.
No, Claude.
Get him out of here.
Claude
I was so glad
the Fire Girls.
Yeah, he's real.
It's true.
Hey, I'm most attracted to Fire Girls. What can I say? You know.
Yeah.
So
that party at the end was pretty lit, though. By the way.
That was a litty party. That's right.
Extremely lit.
Yeah.
But there's something else they could have done there, I think, because it just didn't. It felt so like almost dishonest. Like it didn't seem like, if you look back at her temper moments, it didn't seem like, oh, she just hates the business.
Yeah.
It's just like little interactions where you could say, okay, she's freaking overreacting or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But even looking back retroactively, it doesn't really feel like that's that would really make sense. It's like, oh, you're just trying to tell me I hate this whole business, when the whole time she's saying how she's like excited to run it and everything. So it would have been better if they kind of did that early on.
Yeah, kind of strange. I don't know, but
another thing is that I think the design of the fire characters is like way better than the designs of the other elements, in my opinion. I think that's like by far the most standout design. They're really cool to look at, and the other ones are just kind of there. We see some of the water people, but then in the other two elements, you know, there's not, the love story's not about them, so they're just kind of there in the background. Yeah, they don't really look particularly interesting to me, like the air and the earth ones. They're like,
the cloud people look all pretty much the same, except for the one lady who Wade works for.
Yeah,
who looks very different because she's like a large cloud. She's kind of funny, and I kind of, even though I hated that sport they were playing,
the Windbreakers is the name of the team.
Yeah, and it was all just a bunch of fart jokes. And I was like, no. They're like, break wind, and I was just like, this is stupid.
And they were like rooting for this guy who was feeling down, and then he just like shoots the thing through everybody.
Yeah,
I'm like, how does this sport work? You can, if you just believe hard enough, you can just push it through your opponents. Like,
do you know what that game actually reminded me of? It looked a lot like Blitzball from Final Fantasy X. Exactly. It looked a lot like Blitzball, except it was just in air. That's what that game was. Oh my gosh, that was just straight up Blitzball.
Played through Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
Except it's the air element this time. All right?
Except it's air instead of underwater, because whatever.
I wonder if there are other sports in this world, like the different elements get to play sports.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, you think fire people get to? I don't know.
This could be a cool world if it's fleshed out more. I felt like a lot of the things about the world building were just like, oh, here's an element thing happening, you know?
Yeah, that was one thing too. I thought there was going to be more, because the world is really interesting, generally really fascinating, but it almost felt like a lot of it was just playing at surface level, where it's like, when you start to think about it more, it's like, okay, so that tree, the flower, remember the rare flower that she was interested in seeing? Was that tree an earth person? Is this really just like a giant grave that that everyone's visiting? Stuff like that kind of like crosses your mind, and you're like, wait a minute. And you think about it for a little bit. I don't know. There's generally pretty interesting. The one thing that about the world building that I loved was the fact that you see like the different tiers of immigration for Element City. Before it became Element City, it was originally Water City, and then they introduced like different elements to it, or maybe it was originally an Earth City. I don't remember. And then so your final wave of immigration wasn't even a wave. It's not even commemorated in the immigration office, or the about like the fire people coming, and the city, the infrastructure of the city is not at all conducive for them whatsoever. And I just found that really interesting. Like, I think that's just there's a little bit of interesting social commentary about like how different societies have interacted with each other, and how just generally speaking, there's like, it's made more difficult by just the nature of how people are, or, you know, I don't know. I thought that was an interesting idea. I almost felt like you are almost more at a it is kind of maybe a little too on the nose with that, because it's like, when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, these fire people could actually kill like all of these people just by their very nature. So maybe there is an element of that why this should be maybe a little distrustful of the fire people.
Definitely an element.
But anyway, so maybe some uneven world building, but I think overall, sort of the bits that sort of had to do with that theme, I think worked really well. Personally, it's kind of neat.
I'm just thinking, when I think about worlds like this, I'm like, ooh, that would make a fun game to play. Like, imagine going in a game in this like Element world. I feel like that would be fun. It's almost a shame that we don't get the tied-in licensed games anymore with every new release.
Yeah,
it'd be good to see what that was.
I think another frustration about the world building is that Zootopia's world building is extremely good. Mm-hmm. And this is like not quite, this feels like Zootopia down a peg.
I was just
it's just like, it's just missing just a little bit, because Zootopia is amazing world building in that
I want a game in that movie.
World.
Like an RPG.
That'd be sweet. Yeah. But yeah. We don't have licensed games anymore, so
I know it's kind of
not to the same.
Sad, though.
Yeah,
because I think about when there's all these new releases of certain things. It used to be like every new movie, especially like a movie to the level of a Disney movie, is gonna have a video game.
And Up had a video game.
Yeah, and it's probably gonna be bad, but a lot of times they end up actually being surprisingly good.
And I have Toy Story 3 kicking around here, which that introduced the toy box mode, which was like a big,
awesome,
big deal. Yeah.
But we just don't get Toy Story 4. We don't.
No.
But so overall, I actually I enjoyed the movie. But my first thought after I saw it was like, it was okay. It wasn't. It didn't blow me away.
Yeah.
But it was a fun watch throughout, and I liked a lot of the things they did. Just wish they could have improved on certain things and fleshed things out more, and I didn't particularly like the twist of it all. So
yeah, again, focusing so much on the sort of father-daughter relationship, I feel like it's just too much playing it. Once upon a time, that would have been a really unique and fascinating, and wow, what an angle to take a love story to have it about this. But it's like we haven't even just seen it constantly now in Pixar movies, even though we have seen it constantly in Pixar movies. We see it in like tons of other movies now too. It's like that's a huge angle of like romantic romance films. Right. There's like the family aspect and the drama behind that. So it's like it's all things we've seen before, and it's like a love story, just generally speaking, of two people from different worlds. Like, that's already rote enough. And it's like, if you play up some of the maybe romantic comedy aspects more and make it like a romantic comedy Pixar film like that, if you're gonna lean on one cliche, don't keep doing your same cliche. Just take a lot of tropes and stuff from other movies and then do something interesting with that. I almost felt like just playing it by the same playbook you've been doing the last like however many movies they've done this in is just, it just made it feel like it had less of a personality, which is too bad, because I liked the main characters at least quite a lot. I was trying to root for the relationship as much as I could, because I thought I thought it was genuinely a very sweet relationship. I thought.
Right. And it's got the classic, like, we balance each other out kind of thing, Yeah. And she's the hothead, he's the crybaby. The whole family cries at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was everything with that dinner scene. That was all my favorite stuff in the movie, by the way. I loved where like one of his like nephews is like, "Hey, if we knock you in the water, you're gonna
Yeah,
die."
what the heck?
And then his brother is like, "Don't hate us." I laughed so hard at that line.
Jesus Christ.
It's just like, you don't hate us. It's
That's the crazy thing about this world. That you can
being
just
a
kill each other so
yeah
easily. Yeah.
yeah
Problematic.
yeah
But
not great.
I just want to stress that all the headlines and everything about this movie are so negative. I think it's overblown. I think it does
Yeah
deserve some love. It was like a warm, nice story, and just feel
yeah.
like it could have improved on things some more. And it's not the most unique, but I still enjoyed it.
So visually, we didn't really talk so much about that. Visually and with the music and the visuals, some of the best they've ever done.
Yeah.
Thomas Newman comes back to score this. Got a lot of really good Wall-E and what was the another Thomas Newman scored Pixar film? He's done a few. It had like some Wall-E vibes to a degree in terms of like the grand scope. Oh, Finding Nemo, that's another one that he did. Very like similar vibes in terms of like setting a worldscape in terms of the music. And yeah, just some of the best visuals that like you could ever see. But it's still very Pixar level visuals, which are stunning, don't get me wrong. But then you have this playing next to something that is as wonderfully beautiful and unique as Across the Spider-Verse that's also playing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
Maybe
it's tough when
maybe Pixar has to start. They gotta do something. They gotta start shaking things up. I feel like they've gotten used to their really polished style, but they're having these movies come out and kind of show them up and stand out more.
Yeah.
So maybe they could go back to the drawing board a little bit. The actual drawing board.
The actual drawing board. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what needs to happen. I mean, I will say this. I've seen the big slate on the horizon is sequels.
Right.
Because they know that those are what's going to make money for the studio again. And it's like, it's kind of sad that they sort of have to resort to that. But when you think about it a certain way, some studios will do that so they can fund their the projects that they're genuinely passionate about. And not saying that the sequels, they're not passionate about the sequels per se, but like some filmmakers even said like, I make those movies so I can go and make these other movies. One for you, one for me. I can't remember who's, I feel like maybe I'm conflating a couple different directors, but like I know a lot of them said I'll do a studio film, but then I want to do something for me. So it might be a little bit of a give and take for the next decade, I would say, even of Pixar films. So we'll have to see, because there is like one or two original ideas that are on the docket for them. So, but a lot of sequels.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I will say I really liked the bow at the end too. I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
Nice touch.
Yeah. Again, tying it into the general theme and the story. Yeah, I thought that was a good way to end the movie. So for sure.
All right, Alec, what's it gonna be? What score do you give Elemental?
Tough. This is wavering right around two
3
numbers.
or 4.
No,
Yeah.
This is wavering around this is like 7.58 territory for me, and I don't know if it rises up to the 8. That's just the thing I'm thinking about.
Did this movie eat enough to be 8?
It didn't eat enough of the fire berries, right, or whatever those were. The like I think I'm gonna say stick 7.5. It was good. It was solid. I know I was saying at the beginning, I feel like I could probably, if my parents saw it, they'd probably enjoy it, but I don't know. There's a lot of movies coming out over the course of the next few weeks, and we'll have to pick and choose. We'll see if I can convince them to go see it. We've seen 2 movies in the last 2 weeks.
All right.
They're out on their anniversary stuff right now, so it'll be a little bit. And I hope this sticks around the box office long enough. But I want to go see Spider-Man again before I see this again. So I don't know. We'll see.
That's the thing with the streaming services and stuff. It takes that extra push to get you to want to see a movie. We have that added incentive that we were gonna review it. So like, it's hard to say would I have seen it otherwise. I'd try to see Pixar and Disney stuff, but I'm not sure. I don't know
I didn't see
like, whatever.
Well, Lightyear, to be honest, to be frank, Lightyear really just did not excite me whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I'm a way bigger, like, I would say I'm a bigger sci-fi fan than you, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm. And you're big on the Toy Stories.
And I'm big on Toy Story. So, but I just was not excited about that movie at all.
Not even enough for us to want to review it.
Yeah, we didn't even review it.
At with it.
Yeah.
So,
but
for me, it's a 7.5. That was what I was feeling too.
Yeah.
That's the Tarqaron stamp of approval as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You know, anything 7.5 and up is something like I'm happy to watch again.
Yeah, I will happily watch this again. I didn't like laugh a whole lot. I didn't find the comedy was like amazing. Like I said, I did laugh at some of the, but I was thoroughly entertained the whole way through though.
You didn't laugh at the pruning.
It was a little. It was a little weird.
It might have been good if it didn't. I knew exactly what was gonna happen because it was in the trailer.
Yeah.
I didn't. Here's the pruning bit.
I did say. I don't think. I guess I didn't remember that from the trailer, but
yeah.
I try to like block trailers out of my brain.
I try to also, but certain moments like that kind of stand out sometimes, and it takes away a little bit. Taking one last look at my friends. I remember stuff like that. Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
All right, Tarqaron score is 7.5.
Yeah.
That's not too shabby. That's not
too bad. It's actually right about where the Rotten Tomatoes score is, I think, too. It's in the sevens. It's in like the 70s. I think it's honestly, critical reaction is pretty okay. It's not like amazing or glowing.
What do they give Little Mermaid?
Little Mermaid has like a 50 something, I think, or 60 something.
I thought it was like 68 when I saw maybe, but
yeah, so it's a little bit more mixed, but that's still an approval rating. You
said Rotten Tomatoes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 67% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's kind of wild to me. Yeah. I think people.
94% audience score. Does the audience score matter? Is it always high? I don't know.
No, audience score. It's interesting seeing the gauge between them sometimes. I will say.
So it's 94% audience score.
Yeah.
Man of the people.
Well, that was like, the Mario movie I think had like a 50 something critical rating, but they had like a 98 or something like audience score. It's like it's a crowd pleaser right there. It's a crowd pleaser. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that would be an interesting thing to look at for a video actually sometime, like Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes scores of like movies.
That sounds like a wonderful idea, because Rotten Tomatoes is always good just getting the general pulse. Like it's to analyze like what do critics say, what do people say, kind of a neat little just like a pulse check.
That's what I always look at it for. And then I'm like either really disappointed when a movie I love is like, all right, it's looking like a 54%.
Yeah, it's like
okay.
Well, that's too bad.
Fuck me, I guess.
What do the critics know?
That's right. And the audience score 99%. It's like Rotten Tomatoes 33%, audience 99. All right. So I get nothing. I have no idea.
Yeah.
What I should feel about it.
Because sometimes critics are right.
They're critical.
Sometimes they are.
It is. Sometimes they're overly critical.
Right. Well, like another franchise movie that came out this same weekend was Flash, and that didn't do well. Just as the point to like a franchise or IP.
People aren't running to the theaters to go see
it. I talked to somebody that went and saw it, and they said they liked it quite a lot. But
yeah, catch me not seeing that movie though.
Catch me not wanting to support Ezra Miller whatsoever. That's what you can catch me doing.
Yeah. Love him as
Credence.
Aurelius.
Aurelius. Credence Clearwater. That's who is. Seems Barebone, I think. Credence Barebone.
bareback. All right. So, what's your favorite character from this movie?
My favorite character from this movie? I like Ember. Well,
it's the segment we do at
Ember.
the end of every movie review. Ember.
Ember. She's great.
You're not a Claude fan, huh? I see.
Get out of here. Get out of town.
Who my favorite character? Now that I think of it, actually it makes there's not too many characters I love in this movie.
Yeah.
All right, Ember.
Yeah, it's true.
Ember.
Yeah, hey. Ember and Wade are kind of it.
Got quite the temper on her.
Yeah. She's a fiery one.
It's a real hothead, that one.
She's blazing mad, you know what I'm saying?
She's fucking hot.
Yeah, I did like that was kind of cute too. It's like you're really hot, and I was like, what? Did you just say to me? It's like, no, I didn't mean it like that.
Oh, by the way,
you're
there was a moment
smoking.
There was a moment where he tried to cover up his name tag. I'm like, do you not know how your physiology works? So you just forgot.
Apparently not. You forgot. Yeah.
Just for this gag, you're gonna forget your whole existence. So like how that works. So
yeah, apparently
you can cover your name tag up with your hand, and it just enhances it. It's a fun gag, but I'm like, come on, Wade. You know how water works. You're walking through gates. And that was a fun little gag from the trailer too, where it's like, why do you have these?
that was actually genuinely funny too. What do we have? I don't know.
Well, you can't really have security very good for a lot of things. You can just kind of slip in if you're water.
Well, hey, that's why there's the security guy. The water guy is just, he's just flowing.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for watching this video. What video would you recommend our viewers watch next?
Go check out our review of Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4.
Or the other Pixar film that we reviewed.
Soul's better. Notice that.
So, Soul is better? Oh, Soul is much better. Actually, go watch that review. That's a good review. That's a good movie. It's a really good movie.
Review. Yeah, the more, after doing that review, the more I thought about it, it ages pretty good in my mind. It's a memorable...
Yeah.
It's one, I would gladly show people and watch again. It's cool.
That to me is probably the standout of the more recent ones. I would say I think Turning Red for being just so different in terms of it. Yes, it does sort of run the same kind of rote thing that we were talking about earlier, but it's just such a weird and different film compared to most of the rest of the cavalcade. But
right.
Soul is definitely the standout, I would say, of the more recent ones. So
because it's got a soul. And that's really what it is. Yeah. These certain movies, they're okay, but it doesn't really get me.
Generational trauma.
It's not something I'll talk about or think about years from now. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Right.
Certain ones like that.
Right.
But so thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment letting us know your thoughts on the movie and our review. And if you do, we'll be sure to read it in the next episode of the Tarqaron podcast, all right?
Yeah,
so hit
sounds
that notification bell and click the link in the description for our social media. All right. Flame on.